is breaking news.
We do begin with breaking news. Former President Jimmy Carter has passed away 2 months after turning 100 years old. Carter died at his Georgia home in the city of Plains. Carter endured several health challenges in recent years, battling metastatic melanoma that had spread to his brain. Katu's Deb Knapp has more on his visits to the Pacific Northwest and his legacy.
Jimmy Carter, the nation's 39th president, made the Northwest a regular stop. His last known official visit was in 2015 for a book tour at Powell's.
Thank y'all for coming out.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
In fact, Carter made several visits.
Where to leave off? Right here?
Before and during his time as president, he campaigned at Terry Schrunk Plaza in September of 1976, always making an impression. Kerry Tymchuk, the executive director of the Oregon Historical Society, once met the president and remembers him as extremely personable with everybody.
Carter wanted to stay with the Oregon family. One was selected for him by the city of Portland, and he stayed with this married couple with 2 kids, slept in their house, had breakfast with them the next morning. And that was Jimmy Carter, being a man of the people.
Perhaps the most memorable was during his 3rd year in office when he visited the devastation of Mount Saint Helens in May of 1980. Video from the Katu archives shows the then president taking a helicopter tour of the blast site and visit with survivors in Longview. On his campaign tour for re-election in September of 1980, a K2 reporter spent half an hour for a one-on-one interview with the president.
Q&A with Channel 2 News Washington, D.C. correspondent David Jackson. Today, a special edition from Tacoma, Washington. Answering is Jimmy Carter, President of the United States.
It's a difficult job. It's a challenging job, and on the most crucial issues of life or death, or peace or war, progress or retrogression, it's a lonely job. The man in the Oval Office has a lot of problems that come to his desk and a lot of questions that need to be answered. They are the most difficult problems and the most difficult questions.
Good to see you. Jimmy, morning to you.
The peanut farmer from Georgia turned president also had an immense impact on another agricultural product, hops.
Here in Oregon, we're known for our breweries. And Carter, a teetotaler, signed the bill into law that made home brewing legal. Believe it or not, until then, it was illegal. Home brewing was illegal until the late 1970s. And Carter signed the bill that made it legal, making a lot of Oregonians happy.
Another enormous impact Carter created was highlighting one of the largest housing organizations in the world, and his work was felt here in the Northwest.
President Jimmy Carter has been Habitat for Humanity's most famous volunteer for 39 years. He first got involved soon after coming out of office.
I don't think any president had a better, more productive ex-presidency than Jimmy Carter. With his involvement in philanthropies and charities here in the country, he was just a humanitarian, and always operated with civility, with decency. That's how he will be remembered.
Deborah Knapp, K2 News.
Some more local history. Jimmy Carter lost Oregon both times he ran for president. In 1976, it was the closest presidential race, one of the closest in Oregon history. He did also lose to Gerald Ford, then by about 2,000 votes. Later in 1980, he lost to Ronald Reagan in a landslide. And after his defeat by Ronald Reagan in 1980, Carter accepted numerous diplomatic and humanitarian roles. He worked with global leaders on peace and human rights issues in the Korean Peninsula, the Middle East, and Africa. He helped with hurricane relief after several storms hit the U.S. and founded the Carter Center to advance human rights. He and his wife, Rosalind, volunteered to help build homes with Habitat for Humanity for more than 35 years, well into their senior years. And the former president was known for his character, thanking the man that just beat him for the presidency, Gerald Ford, for his service to the country in Carter's inaugural speech in 1977.
For myself and for our nation, I want to thank my predecessor for all he has done to heal our land.
One of Carter's first acts as president was to declare unconditional amnesty for Vietnam War-era draft dodgers. He had a long friendship with President Joe Biden as well. Carter asked that Biden be the one to give his eulogy when he passed. And according to the Carter Center, there will be public observances held in Atlanta and in D.C. for President Jimmy Carter. His family will then hold a private interment at his hometown in Plains, Georgia. Final arrangements for Carter's state funeral are pending. The Carter Center is urging the public to visit the official tribute website, which includes an online condolence book commemorating the nation's 39th president. And we are continuing to gather reaction to Jimmy Carter's passing from local lawmakers and others. ABC News will have a special episode of 2020 coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll also have more coverage coming up at 6 and 11.